mixed religious background. So I was raised a Catholic, my dad's a Buddhist. I grew up in that environment. I've always been interested in religion in general from like an academic perspective. It was always one of my favourite subjects at school, learning about religions, learning about how people thought about God, what God was to them. And I mean, I grew up in a pretty practicing Catholic household. I was an altar boy until I was about, 13 or something. So I grew up around that, understanding that religion, and also from my dad my dad's Thai, and I was understanding Buddhism from that side. And I've obviously, growing up in Britain, I've always been like acutely aware of like Islam as a faith and as a religion and as a mode of practice. But I never really. I mean, when I got to about 15, maybe, I kind of just gave up with religion. I think because, to me, Catholicism, Christianity, whatever you want to call it, it didn't make sense. It wasn't like there's just things about it that don't like logically fit together. And then I guess when you get to a certain age and you start to think for yourself, you go to school, you learn about things, it becomes an obstacle to like having faith and having that understanding of the world that you get when you're around that age. So I think logically I knew I couldn't be a Christian anymore. Buddhism, I love my dad, but it doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, so I didn't go down that path. So I came to where I came to Islam as an atheist, as not really. Well, I wouldn't say as an atheist actually, but I was pretty ambivalent towards religion. I didn't have much inclination towards it in any way, and I guess it was quite serendipitous how I ended up as a Muslim, because I was an undergraduate student writing my dissertation. I study anthropology, and my specific topic was, because I have always, even as a person ambivalent towards religion, I've always been interested in religion, and I decided to write my dissertation on. So I'm an anthropologist, and I decided to write my dissertation on it was an ethnography about Muslim communities in the south of Thailand, and Muslims make up a tiny percentage. It's something like less than 1% of the population in Thailand. So I decided to write my dissertation on lives, identities, and belonging of a community of Muslim women in the south of Thailand, and how their Islamic identities were corresponding with their national identities as Thai people and as Muslims, and how that interacted. And when I was conducting my interviews for my research, I was talking to these Muslims, and was learning about so many different aspects of their lives, and it was a surprise, just the way that they spoke about religion, they spoke about God, they spoke about how they interacted with their spirituality, with their God, with their religion. And it kind of felt like a breath of fresh air, like growing up in this environment, because I feel like the story that I just told about getting to 15 in the UK, that's nothing new. Like, so many people are brought up religious, but they end up leaving their religions because of that logical juncture. But after speaking to these people who were my seniors by a few years, they were late 20s, I'm 23, they spoke about it so candidly and so honestly, and so you could tell it was very sincere what they were saying. They weren't playing a part or anything. They had this faith, and I was like, what's that about? Like, I want to know more. I want to dig into that. So I finished my research. I wrote it up. The research was actually nothing specifically to do with Islam. It was more of the fact that the Muslims made up the minority, marginalised group. But then I went away, wrote up my dissertation, finished my dissertation, and I had this break in the summer, and I just between starting my masters and finishing my undergraduate. And it was in that period that I started to look into Islam, because they tapped this curiosity in my head, and I started to look into Islam as a faith, as a practice, as a system, and this is when it all began. And so that's when my real journey into Islam began, was in that period, in the summer of 2021. And then that's when I sent the email to Harun. And then just one session, I sat in this room in that chair and spoke to him, just kind of ironed out some creases in my head that I guess were left over from coming from religions that were to me like illogical and things. And I said my shahada that day. I remember still very clearly, just in the masjid in the other room, everyone was hugging me. It was about 20 people. It was after duhur, and everyone was hugging me, and I was like, oh, what have I got myself into? Just hugging everyone. But everyone was so friendly, everyone was so kind, and I remember leaving the masjid feeling just elated, very happy, I could feel that I'd joined something that was clearly a very strong bonded community, and just the instant acceptance as well. It was there was no other Thai British people in the room. There's Algerians, Pakistanis, such a mix of people, and instantly Islam transcends that. It goes beyond racial boundaries and everything, and I could feel that instantly. I felt very much welcomed straight away after saying the shahada. I was a brother, I was part of the community, and everyone was welcoming, everyone was ready to help, saying if you ever need any advice, ask me questions, I'm always here. But there was a line of 20 people saying this to me. I actually spoke to my mum about it before I said my shahada, and I think she was a bit surprised, more in the fact that religion to a lot of people in the UK is just not something that's necessarily serious. That's obviously not always the case, but for a lot of people I think it's quite commonplace, like I said before, just to be pretty ambivalent towards it. So she was a bit surprised that I was taking, because when you join a religion, or when you revert to Islam, you're taking a step yourself into a religion, rather than being born into a religion or just growing up in it. So I think on that level it was maybe quite surprising for her. But to be honest, my mum, my dad, my brother and my sister, they're all just very interested. Even now they're always asking me questions about what I'm wearing, why I'm going to the masjid, why I need to go pray 5 times a day or something like that. It's very supportive though, very supportive. Everyone in my family is quite especially me, my brother and my sister, we're quite we've all been to university, we've all studied, we're all quite analytical of the world and sceptical of these things anyway. And no, if anything, it was almost the opposite. It's almost the image that you see of Muslims portrayed in the media. It's you want to find for yourself the truth, because it's obviously not the truth. So you look for the opposite of that. So if anything, it was I knew it was a misrepresentation, and it was almost that I wanted to discover what the actual truth was. And that's another thing, after saying my shahada, it's just laughable, but how this, if anybody who makes these this image of the terrorist Muslim, for example, just come spend an afternoon in the masjid, you'll understand. It's just it's crazy. Islam is easy, but it's a constant accumulation of knowledge to form your practice, and there's so much to it. At the moment, I'm with you learning the basics on Thursdays, just concentrating on the simplest aspects of faith, things like tawheed, and understanding that the pillars of iman, just understanding these foundational units of the faith. I'm trying to learn as much of the Quran as possible, for my prayer practice, just trying to learn as much as I can. It makes me laugh every time though, because I come after the madrasa sometimes, and there's a boy who I think he's 12, and every time I go in and I'm I've learned a new surah, let me show you, and then he's teaching me the surah. So it's I want to get to the point where we know the same amount of surahs. But alhamdulillah, I think I'm on 14 surahs now, I've learned. Yeah. I've been observing some of the sunnah fasts on Mondays and Thursdays to try and warm my body into it. But no, inshallah, it will be fun, and I'll get to experience the full weight of the month of Ramadan. I'm looking forward to it, and just being in the masjid as much as possible over the month. It'll be a good time. From the first day, it's like, so I join the religion, I come, and it's like, as a new Muslim, you're there like, what's next? But then being part of the Nottingham Islam Information Centre, it's like someone was holding my hand the whole way. On the first day I was given a pack, the new Muslim pack, that you give to people that join the faith, and I mean, immediately, like, I was given a prayer mat that had the transliteration onto English in the front. Khairun said, text me if you need anything, if you need any questions, if anything needs explaining to you. Joining the community, like when you come to prayers and you're standing around with people, you get to know people, you shake their hands, you speak to them daily, and it's very intimate. You feel like you know these people on a way that you don't know some people that you've known all your life in a weird way. There's the classes with you on Thursdays. That it's like tuition in something that's extremely important in this life. It's like this centre gives me community, and it gives me direction for this journey that I'm taking, and everyone's so helpful. Yeah, and it's not as if I'm like, it's all out of the goodness of your guys' hearts. Like, I'm not paying you to do this or anything. It's like Izzuddin, the Imam, he helps me recite. Yeah, everybody's so helpful. Everybody's so ready to help as well. It's like you don't even need to ask sometimes. They're already helping you before you start. Yeah, and I don't think the journey would have been like if I lived a little bit further away from the city centre or something, and there wasn't a masjid like this, or a dawah centre like this, like so close to me. It would be a lot harder to embark on like this journey, because nothing can replace like having a community to come to and help you understand things, you know. So yeah, it's irreplaceable for this journey. Yeah.